The town of St. John will hold the board zoning appeals meeting agenda today. All those that can, please stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, this meeting's called to order, a pledge of allegiance, and now the roll call.
John Gill is absent. Joe Gomez-Tegel.
Present.
Drago Popovich.
Here.
Rudy Bambick is currently absent. Chris Kreisbaum.
Here.
Adam Decker.
Here.
Bill Manasopoulos.
Here.
Ashley Abernathy present.
Okay, we have the minutes.
We do have the minutes for August 7th, 2024. They were circulated to the board.
All those who had a chance to review the minutes, are there any questions or additions or editing here? Nope. Okay, then, if that's the case, we should pass the
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
motion. Is
A second.
okay, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. All right. Public hearing.
Mr. President, before you go on, we have a 5-minute recess just so I can reset something.
Sure.
Okay. You're good.
As we begin the first meeting of today's public hearing, development of variance 2024-24 for 24-525 at St. John, 24-516, which is requesting a reduction in the required planting area for the property around the building. Allow for the sprinkler system to be adjacent to the building only, to not install the screening wall on the south property line, and to allow parking between the right-of-way in the front of the building located on the east side of US 41, approximately 975 feet south of the intersection of 101 First Place and US Highway 41, zoned as C2 Highway Commercial, 37.54 acres, Franciscan Align Inc., Maggie Tortolano, I might mispronounce your name, I am terribly sorry.
That's okay.
And Tom and Blank, and James Weiser, I got that name. All right. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the BZA. As Joe mentioned, my name is Jim Weiser. I'm the attorney for the project. My offices are located at 429 West Lincoln Highway in Schererville. As you know, we've been before the Plan Commission and the BZA, I think, but for sure the Plan Commission for a number of months working on this project. And what I'd like to do is just give a quick overview so anybody here from the public that's interested will hear what the general development is about. The Franciscan Alliance intends to build a health center, and the health center will be located on the east side of US 41, south of Alsip Nursery, where the Decker tile used to be for a frame of reference. And this will be a large health service facility with, I think, ultimately a total of 80,000 square feet. Initially, I think 40,000. It's intended and is being developed as a single story at this point in time, but the intent is ultimately to have a 2 or possibly 3-story building ultimately as they build out and provide more services for the community and in the building. And this will include like an ambulatory surgery center. There's a lot of benefits, doctor's offices, diagnostic testing, all kinds of services available to the St. John community and surrounding communities, Dyer maybe, Cedar Lake. It would benefit all of them. So we've gotten through and we've got our zoning approved and we've gotten our subdivision approval. In fact, we're back on the Plan Commission agenda later tonight to finalize that. But in going through the ordinance and the requirements with staff, we realized that there were going to be 5 variances that we were going to need, which you Joe already read off. And I don't know, Ashley, are they going to get on, Bob and Alex?
Alex, Alan, and Robert are all online.
Okay. So you can then hear them, right? Is that what it'll be?
If they need to
Excuse
speak,
me.
yes, they have the ability to speak.
Okay. So we have online with us, because they're far better to tell you or answer any questions and tell you technically what this means, the 5 variances that we're seeking. Bob is our architect advisor, Alex is our engineer. And who's the other one on the line?
Alan?
Okay. Okay, he works with Alex. Okay, I wasn't sure. So we have them available to explain, if you need the explanation as to why we're seeking these 5 variances. It really has to do overall with the overall plan and the overall concept and how it will best work and fit in on that property, but yet still be an incredibly attractive and beautiful building that will provide for appropriate screening and appropriate landscaping, and we think appropriate sprinkling, even though not all of it will be sprinkled. But there's a legitimate justifiable reason for that and for the others. So at this time, we would be prepared to answer any questions that you may have relative to any one of those variances, because I know we looked at them all, or Joe read them all off at the same time, which is fine with us. And I'll be glad to have Bob or Alex answer.
Prior to continuing with this public hearing, I do have to say their certified mailings were in order. However, they were short one of the newspapers. They had issues getting published in the Post-Tribune, and I will let Mr. Weezer speak further to that.
Okay. Thanks, Ashley. Excuse me. As you know, your ordinance, then applicable ordinance, required publication in 2 newspapers of general circulation, the certified, as Ashley said, and the posting of the sign, which was also done. As far as the Post-Tribune goes, it's a well-known fact in the legal community that it's extremely difficult to get responses from the Post-Tribune and to get proofs of publication back in a timely manner. We submitted that, and I gave Ashley a copy of an email. We submitted that to the Post-Tribune a month ago, maybe a day or 2 short of a month ago, but a month ago, and have never received anything back from the Post-Tribune despite repeated attempts to try and find out. The Times publication was in order, and I was discussing this with your legal counsel prior to the meeting, and I do believe that your rules provide that for good cause, that requirement can be waived as we're showing substantial compliance with notice by all the other things that we did. I know you've changed, or at least it's in the process, or it's being considered to change your ordinance to 1 newspaper, which is consistent with the state law. And but at this time, we were under the existing ordinance at that time, which required 2. So I would ask that the board, and it says that the board can do that by a majority vote, which in this case would require all 3 of you to vote in favor to waive that requirement, as we've satisfied every other notice requirement that we were required to do.
Weiser, I know you said a month ago, but when someone says a month ago, that was about 6 days ago. Did you send it 6 days ago, or what do you?
No,
Middle to beginning of August.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
good,
I
good.
sent it at the
That's what
beginning,
I was
yeah.
hoping,
no, and I gave Ashley the email that showed that it was
Oh,
been
okay,
sent.
good, Ashley. That's all.
I can confirm what he's-
It wasn't because,
No, it was more than the 10 days prior, needing them to post in the
Right.
newspaper. Had the Tribune followed through, they would have been compliant with both newspapers.
and I think that's the reason why we went.
That was one of the reasons why we went through the change, yes, sir.
Oh, are there any questions from the board?
Yeah, I mean, why are you guys requesting the reduction in the planting area?
Oh, okay, well, I'll be happy to answer that. It's just that I think you have to decide whether or not we can proceed
Proceed with that.
this evening, or further proceed because of the notice issue.
So, Mr. Chair, in order to proceed with the public hearing tonight, it will require the Board of Zoning Appeals to suspend the rules as it applies to the second publication requirement that are contained in the rules. Under Article 6 of the Rules and Regulations for the Board of Zoning Appeals, Item 2 says that the rules, or any portion of them, may be suspended by a majority vote of the entire membership of the board. No suspension shall be continued beyond the adjournment of the public meeting at which the motion to suspend was passed. So that would require the board, someone to make a motion, to have it seconded, and then to be passed unanimously by the three of you, which would constitute the majority of the Board of Zoning Appeals, to allow for suspension of the rules, to allow the hearing to proceed this evening.
That's logical. So, it's up to the board. You want
I don't have a problem doing that.
to pass the motion? You have a problem with doing that, Mr. Popovich?
Well, the intention is to give, notice to the public, so of what sort of changes they're looking for. A little concerned about that. I think as far as the items that they're requesting, though, I guess we can make a motion to suspend that. You guys, do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, as far as giving notice to the public for what they're asking for, I
They-
don't think it needs any more.
They did meet the times, they did meet all
Right.
certified, they did have the sign posted. It
Right.
was just the Tribune.
Right, it's just the newspaper, like you said, and that's always a problem.
And that's
Okay.
why we passed that amendment.
So, I don't have a problem.
Yeah, all right, I'm fine with that.
Yep, so,
So-
Mr. Chair, someone's going to need to make a motion, it will need to be seconded, and then there'll need to be a vote taken.
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Nays? None. Motion to suspend the rules are in order, okay, so then.
Thank you.
now we Proceed, so.
Okay. Now we're ready to go.
Before we continue, Council, do we have to go line item by changes? Do we have to approach each one of them? Because I know there are a whole slew that I said there.
Yeah.
So,
So, Mr. Chairman, my recommendation has always been that, yes, they need to be
Each line.
identified separately because they're separate requests for variances, and so I think it provides for a much cleaner record. If any one of those variances should not be passed, that should not necessarily cause the remaining, if they are passed or if they're approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals. So for that reason, I generally recommend that you take them one at a time, at least in terms of their consideration after the presentation of the hearing.
okay, that sounds a little bit better, so we'll look at each, in this case, which one are you requesting, Mr. Griezmann?
First item, I want to know why they're requesting a reduction in the required planting area and where at on the property or in relation to the building are they requesting a reduction?
Sure. Very legitimate question. I don't know if Bob's on the line, if he can hear me?
He dropped out.
Oh, crap. Yeah, he's in
Alex
a,
is still on, and so is Alan.
okay, maybe Alex might want to tackle that one?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
So we have two landscape-related variance requests. On the number 2 request, this is a requirement for a planting area equal to an area measuring 25 feet in depth by the width of the front of the building plus 20 feet shall be installed along building facades that face the US 41 highway. So we're requesting a variance for this requirement because we have, this being a medical facility, they have, for instance, a drop-off in front of the building, and there's a lot of direct access that needs to be easily identifiable. Additionally, there's a 30-foot green space and a dry detention area out in front of the building, providing quite a large landscape buffer already. There is a second variance request regarding landscaping. The requirement is for a planting area equal to 10 feet in depth on the remaining sides of the building. And we're requesting this for a similar reason, that as a medical facility, needing to have direct and easily identifiable access for patients.
And how much of a reduction are you asking for?
Well, in the front of the building,
Next time it'd be helpful if this is displayed on the plans.
Alex, in the site plan that you submitted, is there a landscaping plan?
yes, we did submit a landscaping plan. I'm trying to pull that up now. Or I'm sorry, I don't think we do have a landscaping plan in this set.
Yeah.
Now, but to answer your question, in the front of the building is all a drop-off area. So there's not any landscaping immediately in front of the building. To the north and south, in the phase 1 condition, there's quite a large green space, but with future building expansions, that would be reduced to, I believe, a 5-foot landscaping area.
As far as my vote goes, I will not approve it until they provide a more detailed plan of
Yeah, I hate
what
to
they're
do
gonna
this too, I agree. I'm a visual person too, with my colleagues here. So if we have that in front of us, we could actually talk about it.
Also like a significant, like if you got a percentage of the landscaping that you're reducing it by,
Right.
that would be helpful.
But there was no landscape plan submitted, you're not actually showing us how you want to reduce it and what's actually being reduced, so.
Would it, if that's the case, would it then just be possible for this particular variance request to defer it to your next meeting, as opposed to it being denied, and then we have to go through all the notice requirements again? We just ask that it be deferred, and we'll get you that information.
Yes. Yeah, Mr. Chair, so I think, so the hearing may proceed, meaning the public hearing. So you can invite the public to make comments and any remonstrances, and the petitioner can respond to that. You may also, at the conclusion of the hearing, hold the hearing open to next month if you wish to do so. That way, any material that's submitted by the applicant between now and then would be considered by the members, perhaps by also members of the public, and if the hearing is continued, then at next month's meeting, the hearing can be, well, it wouldn't be opened, it would be continued. Anyone could address the comments that might be submitted regarding any, landscaping plan that might be submitted. That may be the most direct way to facilitate the submission of the landscaping plan.
I agree with my counselor too, that if we kind of have everything in front of us so we can make a good decision.
Yeah.
Then the general public would maybe remonstrating or, approving it or whatever, if they just speak on something that they have in
Sure.
their hands or, and as far as the notices to the general public, does it have to be put out again or can we just?
No, so when a hearing is continued, there's typically no requirement imposed on the applicant to resubmit notices because the notices for tonight's hearing are satisfactory, and so they've met that requirement. The continuance of the hearing is simply announced publicly at the meeting based on a vote that will be taken, and there's no additional advertising for that beyond that action.
Any comments?
Well, I don't feel like we've invested that much time to where we can't just defer the entire case for the next meeting.
I agree with that too, so, we have to pass a motion?
Yes, so again, I don't know if you want to hear any of the public comments, there may be people here that may wish to speak. You haven't opened the hearing yet, but if you open the hearing and wish to continue it, it would require a motion to continue the hearing to next month's meeting.
So there are members of the public that came for this in particular item, so I would suggest opening and just continuing it.
Open up for
Okay.
them. And if they're more than welcome to come back next month too, they're there. It's still open, right?
Yes, if you hold the hearing open, anyone of the members of the public would be allowed to return to speak to any additional matters that would come before the BZA.
And then they have some more information, yeah.
I'd open the floor.
And I have a landscape plan I could pull up, if that is helpful.
I have no clue how to do screen sharing.
What is it? I didn't quite hear.
Alex said he had a landscaping plan to pull up, but this is one of my first times using this meeting format.
So my suggestion again is to open the public hearing, continue it. Anything that he sends over, you can make available to the board members and they can review them.
I agree with that too.
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Joe, open up to.
Open to, the meeting's open to a public hearing. All those in favor want to come up and speak up, please state your name and address. I have a letter here, maybe I'll hold on to that letter until afterwards.
That's for,
The Thrasher resident.
yes, that's for the third item tonight.
Okay, then, anybody wants to speak? Second call?
Is this going to be the site of Alsop Nursery?
So Mr.
Can you
Chairman.
please come up and
yeah,
state your name and address?
You need to come to the microphone and state your name and address, and then address the board.
Nancy Skaffgard, 11503 Upper Peninsula Lane. I was just wondering what side of is it going to be by Alsop, by that vacant building?
So if you look to the screen, this is Alsop here, and everything that's that darker blue is covering the property that they are seeking the variance for.
And it does cover the building that you're speaking of.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's on that side.
Correct.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I think I read second. Third call? Should I say continuing, continuance?
You need to solicit a motion, a second, and a vote to continue the hearing to next month's.
Okay, I'm soliciting to, like,
I'll make a motion to continue the hearing until next month's meeting.
I second it.
all those in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it? Aye. Motion approved, yeah,
A 3-0 vote?
yes.
Okay, very good. So the hearing will be held open and will be heard at next month's meeting And there will be no decisions made on any of the items tonight, so.
No.
Okay.
The next on call is B, 2024-25 variance of use from St. John Municipal Center, 24-191, and St. John 24-341, and 24-45 for a variance of use to allow a new medical use in the US 41 overlay district located on 10200 Wicker Avenue, Zone C, highway commercial. Mr. Torres, Jacqueline Torres, applicant.
So, Board of Zoning Appeals members, while Ms. Torres approaches the podium, this request is to allow for a new medical use to go into the St. John Professional Center that's located directly west of the Alsip Nursery. There is already legal non-conforming medical uses in there, but because they're requesting a new medical use, it was required to come in front of the board to seek that use variance.
Hello. I don't really have anything prepared. I just have photos in case of the 700 square feet that we were hoping to rent out for a med spa. We currently...
Name and
Mr.
address.
Chair, yeah, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
I apologize. Jacqueline Torres. You need my home address? No?
Yes.
12386 Magoon Avenue in Cedar Lake, Indiana.
Okay.
So we currently are already in at 9615 Keelman. We're renting space there. We were just hoping to move here just to have more space for our med spa. It's currently 200 square feet, and this would be 700, so still nothing huge. It's off to the side of the building. Is it okay if I show you this picture? Or?
Yeah, you can bring it.
Okay.
This is currently what's there, the big picture behind it is the old renters there, but it's off to the side of that, so it would be to the left of True Blood.
Your entrance would be on the south side of that first building, correct?
Correct.
It would be located about down here where the purple cursor is.
I don't have any further questions. You guys have any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Drago, any questions?
Any questions?
No.
We open it up to the public and any comments from the public? Going once? Going twice? Public is closed. All right, what's your recommendation?
I'll make a motion to approve the variance of use to allow for a new medical
This would be a
yeah.
recommendation, favorable.
recommendation to the town council. Make a
Favorable.
motion for a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, sir.
Variance of use to allow for a new medical use on the 41 overlay district. The 10200 Wicker Avenue.
All those in favor?
I second the motion.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Approved. Third, development variance for St. John 24-94 to request for the ability to construct a detached garage in the rear yard of the property for a garage size of 1,200 square feet and a total garage square footage in the amount of 2,285 square feet located at 9934 West 99th Avenue. Randy Thrasher, owner, Doug Reddick. Doug?
Good evening. Doug Reddick with DVG, representing the Thrashers who are here present tonight. They are the owners of the property located at 9934 West 99th Avenue. They've lived in the property for a few years now. They have an unusually large lot here in the town of St. John. It's probably about 1.4 acres where their existing home is situated. The lot's about 115 feet wide and over 500 feet deep, and you can see on the screen, it's a large property. The home and the driveway already are existing. They have a desire to build a detached garage or an accessory building in the backyard for personal use. But we exceed the square footage requirements of what's allowable for garages. And that's why we're here tonight, to seek a variance for the square footage. I think there's the accessory building is 1,200 square feet, and the total garage area will be 2,285 square feet, because there's about 1,000 square feet existing in the attached garage. And that's what we're here for tonight, to this request.
Is there any plans for the accessory building?
Any architectural plans?
Yes.
I don't think they have them yet. They're looking at options. It's going to be a stick frame type building. It's not a pole barn. They want it to match the house. We know that much. They're looking at different options and talking to different builders to try to figure out what's best. But they know they won't exceed the 30 by 40 or 1,200 square feet.
What are we looking at using the garage for? Is the accessory building actually for a garage for storage purposes?
Randy?
Yep, I'm Randy Thrasher, 9934 99th, and we also own the land at 9924 99th. We have a few different vehicles, cars. Right now we have to park on the outside. I have a storage unit at the new storage unit on Hart Street at 10 by 40. We just have a lot of stuff that I'm trying to store at our own property, along with some tools and things.
It's difficult to pass this based on some of the requirements as far as like height of the building. It's an accessory building. I understand it's going to be, I like the idea of it matching the house and the aesthetics.
Absolutely. We want to match the aesthetics of the house too. We understand the max height of 14 feet from the top of the roof to the ground. We understand that. It will be in compliance with all those.
After discussing it with staff, we felt the only variance we needed was for the square footage.
I see.
We're going to meet the height requirement.
Before they submitted, they did submit it over to review, and we did ensure that they were going to meet every other requirement, setbacks, height, everything like that. It was reviewed with.
Square footage is the only concern with.
Square
as far as the
footage.
town goes.
Correct.
Council, if we were to approve, just hypothetically, does that mean that the adjacent buildings around it can make an adjustment on their construction if they want to put a building that's the same size, or?
They'd have to come in front of the board just as Mr.
But then if we're, I'm just asking here, if we approve it, then that opens it up for everybody to be able to.
No.
Help me out on that.
Yeah, so my answer to that question is no. Any decision of the Board of Zoning Appeals does not set precedent or binding precedent upon the board. Each case is unique in the facts that are presented and need to be considered by the board, as the facts are presented, for each particular property. Now, with regard to the approval of the variance, there are certain standards that have to be met. Those are commonly referred to as the findings of fact that you're aware of in terms of what the applicant is required to establish for approval of the variance. I would also add that the board can impose any number of reasonable conditions on any approval that it may wish to make. So, for example, if the board wants to require a certain architectural style or to match, siding or roof materials, it can do so as part of any consideration of a variance and approval of same. So, but to answer your question, Mr. Chair, the action or approval tonight does not allow others to do the same that live in the vicinity of this property.
I think at this time you need to open it up to the public hearing.
I have a letter here, I'm gonna open it up to the general public here.
So I'd like to open up the public hearing.
Yes, public hearing, open it up to the public hearing. I have a letter here before I begin. I want to make sure, I don't know if this is for the right one, 9934 West.
I don't think Joe needs to read that.
That's for that petitioner, and I do know, that remonstrator who submitted that written remonstrance is also in attendance tonight.
So Mike, Mr. Brett Sidebender? Okay, good. I have your letter here. Now, I could read it, or you could,
I was told this morning that they would post the letter into the record.
Mr. Chair, can you please have Mr. Sidebender
I'm
identify
sorry.
himself
I'm sorry.
with his name and his address?
Okay, I apologize. My name is Ralph Circle. I live at 9849 Three Springs Drive, which is lot number 71 in all the aerial stuff that I sent you guys. I brought them all in this morning, package for each one of you. And it said, and that's what I sort of want to talk about. You don't have to read the whole letter because it's going to be in the record. You guys would have seen it. So we don't have to bore everybody else. But I just wanted to touch on a few things. We oppose this approval of this variance because it'll affect our home and all the homes around it. These lots were split off from Joliet Street, if you guys remember. I'm glad you reminded us, it was 4 or 5 years ago when they came in and they had their approval for their lot and their home. And I stood up and I asked, how were they gonna split this lot? And everybody assured me, including the representative, that they were going to follow all the rules of a normal residence. And I didn't realize that until he stood up and said it. And so I asked the young lady, what should we do to show opposition? Because we don't want to have any arguments or anything. We just want to show that we oppose it. One of them was safety. Well, I'm a retired firefighter from Chicago Heights, and I thought about the safety. It's in the pictures that I gave you in your package. There's only 2 fire hydrants in the whole area. If there's a fire and explosion in this building that we're proposing out into the field there, 2 of them. One of them is in front of my house, and one of them is in front of their house. Both of them is a challenging attack to that fire. And the manpower of St. John Fire Department, they just don't have enough guys. And if the weather's bad and stuff like that, you're talking a big disaster. So anyway, number 1, there was the safety and the location of the hydrants. Then I said weather conditions, manpower, mutual aid. If the city need help to come and put this fire out, they're gonna have to call another fire department. How long is that gonna take to get here? I don't even know how many guys on the fire department here on a daily basis.
I have a question for you. Did you get footages from hydrant to buildings across the whole neighborhood? The furthest building to the closest hydrant throughout the entire neighborhood?
I didn't.
Versus where his building's gonna be in relation to the footage? Because I did it.
Yeah, it's from across the street of ours, it's 500 feet, I would say 500 feet stretch from in front of my house and that's I'll show you which,
Lot 70.
yeah, between lot 70 and 71.
Lot 70 is 286.45 feet from the hydrant to their accessory building in the backyard.
Okay,
The house next to that, which is 9821.
That's me.
If I'm correct, is
98
323.52 feet from that fire hydrant.
okay,
The proposed building is 360.59 feet from that hydrant.
All right.
Which is less than 40 feet. The furthest accessory building from a hydrant in that entire subdivision is 392.62 feet, which is 32 feet further than what he is requesting. So as far as the safety is concerned, there's a lot of other buildings in the neighborhood currently that have a further distance than the building that he's proposing.
okay, but you didn't if you let me finish,
But I'm just saying, so, I mean, as far as that.
that's just the hose for the water supply. Then you gotta drag 200 foot of each hand line up there. Now you're talking carrying all that hose, all that equipment, up to that thing. And if you go take a ride over there and look at it, It might be 380 feet around the track over here at the high school, but it's uphill going over there. And you start carrying humping hose up the hill, it's a little bit different, especially in a foot of snow. Okay, I'll let you go on that. There's the hydrants. I gave you the rest of it. If you have any other questions, I'd be glad to talk to you about it. Okay, number 2, we put with photo number 2, we believe that the structure is out of character with the residential community. It's more for a rural setting. And if you look at those those pictures that we had, every house is the same. Everybody has the same thing. And now he wants to put something different. He wants a farm. Well, this ain't a farm. It'll have no benefit to the city of St. John, and it will set a precedent. Because who's going to say that somebody else doesn't want to go build one? You say that now, just like you said no one was going to build more than what they did on the lot. And now you're telling me they're going to get a variance to do it. So don't tell me stories about like that. And anyway, that's all I really have to say. Everything else is in my letter. You could put it in any way you want. And we don't want any problems with our neighbors, but we oppose it the way it looks. It takes up almost 40% of our backyard. Our backyard's 115 feet long. Between their shed and their new proposed building, there's only 40% left. The rest is covered by their stuff. So we'll leave it at that.
Ashley, did you have that looked over by our fire department?
I did once, the remonstrator brought his petition in front of me, or his remonstrance in front of me. I did provide it to our fire chief to look over. The fire chief did not see any significant fire issues with it. His only request is that if granted, to allow for the fire trucks to get back there, to have a drive going back to the garage that's wide enough for a fire truck to go down.
It's long enough so it sustains the truck.
Wide enough and long enough that the fire trucks can get down there in the event of an emergency.
What is the total size of Mr. Thrasher's lot?
1.4 acres, 200,
61,594.86 square feet.
And with the proposed building and the existing building in the home, what percentage of lot coverage will there be?
Less than the 30%.
oh, wait,
Less
what-
than 30%.
oh, probably
And
less
our-
than 10%.
Yeah.
What's that?
Probably less than 10% of building coverage. It's very minimal.
And what does the ordinance say? What do we allow?
30%.
30%.
30% for lot
And this
coverage.
is less than 30%.
Way less.
It was way less when I calculated.
less.
My apologies for not including it in your staff report.
So he's not asking to cover any more of his property than any other homeowner in the town based on the ordinances that we currently have.
And because his property is greater than an acre, we do allow for them to have a detached garage. And we also allow for, because it's over 300 square feet, he is allowed an additional 540 square footage over the 1,100, that's the minimum. So, ordinance would allow him to have a detached garage and a total garage square footage size of 1,640 square feet.
His facts and findings are there.
The total request is for it to be that 2,285 square feet with the 1,200 square foot addition of the detached garage.
The only stipulation I don't see a problem with it, but I would stipulate that it does match the house. Paint, siding, roof and brick. You
And
know what I
also
mean?
also the drive to the trucks to get in there in case of emergency.
Yeah, where is the
Because they have equipment over there.
driveway going to be for this? Is that going to be, is this accurate? That's going to be 40 and a half feet by 36.6 feet?
There is no proposed driveway, I don't believe.
That's just going to be,
The driveway is not shown, a driveway to the new building is not shown on the site plan. I wasn't sure if you even wanted one.
I really wasn't looking for one.
But if it's a requirement, I can put one in. It would go straight back from the,
garage.
Fire chief didn't require a driveway, he just said there had to be enough room for a fire truck to
He
access.
requests the ability to be able to get back there. His preference would be a driveway, something for them to
Preference
drive,
would be.
Yeah,
drive the fire trucks on.
That would be a
Those
stipulation.
trucks, yeah, those trucks are heavy, so even if you get any kind of truck through there, a rainy day or snowing day, doesn't matter, but I think I tend to agree with you, but the only thing is that the stipulations that we have to put in there for you in the driveway to sustain the trucks, in case of emergency, for the safety of everyone.
And to confirm, this building's going to be used for additional vehicles? Exclusively, or any other storage, or?
no, it'll be storage items in there, some tools in there. I like working with my hands as a hobby, so,
It's kind of a workshop type of thing, maybe?
yeah. I don't do it for a living, but it's just a hobby stuff.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Only occasional driveway access, I mean, not a daily used
Oh,
building.
no. Yeah, it's not a garage we'd be going to every day with a car or something like that, no. Be more for storage.
Mr. Chair, I would suggest, I don't know where we're at with the hearing, but if there are any other persons that wish to speak, you might invite them.
Anybody else wants to?
Thank you, sir. Anybody else who wishes to come up? Please state your name and address.
Good afternoon. Matt Vanderheiden, 9837 Three Springs, Lot 70. This is a kind of a tricky one for me because we believe in property rights. We believe that they kind of have a nice sized property. I've heard everything that they said. Understand that they want to make it look nice with the house. So those types of things we kind of understand. For our purposes, just for our history, we bought it in about 12 years ago. And mainly it's about, I guess our view from the back, and I guess there's a safety. The fire extinguisher, I kind of recognized that would probably have to go through our yard, or there'd have to be the trucks that go up. So I don't know if that, how much that matters. I'm not gonna obviously begrudge a fire hose going through my yard to put out a fire, but mainly I think for us, we want to have good friendships, good neighbors, and I'm a little bit concerned, I guess, about, I know you're saying it doesn't set a precedent, but at some point, there's a lot too, and I don't know if there's a way to put hedges around whatever the decision might be. Since it's kind of a garage, kind of a storage thing, I don't necessarily would like to see too many extra buildings going up, and I don't know what kind of assurances we get on that moving forward. So we bought in.
Extra buildings on the property, or what do you?
Well, there's already one extra building. There's already a shed on the building,
Okay,
on the property.
on the property, right.
So now, that's an added, so this is not a shed, this is the garage. So I guess mainly, we kind of viewing it more like a storage unit than anything else. So is there going to be a way to make sure that we don't have multiple garages, more, because when, like I said, 12 years ago, it was unbuildable, then it got subdivided, and then now it's kind of a subdivision of their own with the possibility of another home and more buildings. So I don't know what kind of hedges that we.
That same lot, you're saying?
No, lot two. So he's
Oh,
got,
lot two.
there's two lots there.
Right.
For the subdivision. So yeah, I mean, yeah, personally, we're not happy about it because it does change what we see from the backyard. It's kind of big. It's about as big as our first home. So that's just our personal.
Were there any plans as far as the, any landscaping going around the building?
Today, no, there's no plans today. I have offered that to one of the neighbors if I help make it look more attractive to them, but today there's no plans. It's just a nice open mowed area right now today. I don't know if you've been to our house or seen it from the street, but it's a pretty good sized lot back there.
I'll be honest, I mean, He's gonna make it match the house. It's no
Right.
different than looking at another home per se in a subdivision behind you. The size of his lot in a normal subdivision, quarter acre lots, there'd be 6 homes on that lot.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm just thinking in terms of something that might mitigate any,
Yeah.
just an enhancement of maybe some landscaping that might block a little bit.
Making
And
the accessory building match the home to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with
that's
that.
a lot in itself, you know what I'm saying?
All the things that we're requesting should be kind of we should put it down, like the fire, the driveway, the aesthetically looking for the.
That's if it passes.
Yeah, so I think all those things need to be addressed.
Is
And
there-
we should put them because I don't see any problem with it, just.
anybody else for public comment?
Is there anybody else with public comment?
Yeah, my name is Celia Circle, 98493 Springs Drive, St. John, Indiana. I'm lot 71, spouse to Ralph Circle, who spoke before. You received our letter, and I just had, I'm reading through the zoning codes because, it's been very disturbing to find that, my home, my major asset view is going to be totally is interrupted, and I believe, looking at other properties in the area, just like the lake, the phase 3 of the subdivision of Three Springs subdivision, homes on a lake with a view are considerably more priced. Our home, I think, we have nothing but a wooded view, and I believe it increases the value of our property with that unobstructed view. And the placement of the proposed structure is the total 30 feet of its width is only adjacent to my property, 71. And then his shed is on the other side, the south side, which is another 16 feet. So I calculated that he's taking 40% of adjacent to my property. And we had asked that maybe he consider moving it and make it maybe possibly divide it between two property lines, so it wouldn't affect only my property. And it's just, I don't think it's quite fair that it's just only, adjacent to my property. And I would, yes, I'm very meticulous with my house. I've spent 25% of my value of my home when I first purchased it just on landscape alone. I have, just landscaping, no fencing. We were supposed to say it was supposed to be natural fencing, and I just, spent just another $15,000 just trying to obstruct the view of the shed and to help with, runoff of water from the roof of his line. I mean, the property is on a slant and to our home. So that 14-foot height of is going to be higher from the elevation from our home. It's going to look higher. So, I'm just asking that maybe it would be considered, we would be willing to negotiate, and that, we would ask that maybe it would go between two property, and we would be fine with that, and we wouldn't oppose it. I understand he wants storage, and also, I'm reading through the codes, and it says in parking requirements, it says garages cannot be in the rear of a property. So, it's it's affecting several codes of our ordinances. And I would ask that you to consider that as well. Thank you very much.
Mr. Thrasher, I got a question if you don't mind. How did you come up with the placement of the accessory building?
How did we come up with the placement of it?
Yeah.
Well, from our point of view, that entire area is our backyard, and we're just trying to figure out a way to have it far enough from the house, but yet still have reasonable surrounding around the garage that aesthetically look well to us. We own both those lots. The view that she's talking about right there is across both of our lots. right? She's lot 71, so she's talking about the view across both our lots.
Right. Her view is your property.
Yeah.
I don't have any more questions.
Anybody else from the public?
There was a second letter submitted.
I just got, I got one here from Brett.
Yes, that's the other letter, sir.
This one's gonna be submitted to the gentleman spoke already.
No, that was
That's a
the,
different-
that was the
Oh.
packet. That one's a different one.
But then I got a letter here from Brett Sidebender, 9821, Three Springs Drive, President of Three Springs HOA. Is he here?
He's not here.
I'm gonna read the letter out, so bear with me here. Members of the board, let me introduce myself. My name is Brett Sidebender, and I am the duly elected president of the Three Springs Homeowners Association Phase 1. I have resided at 9821 Three Springs Drive since 2006 and served the town from 1997 to 2022 in the fire and police department until my retirement in 2022. I represent the interests of approximately 50 homes and more specifically the residents on the east side of Three Springs Drive, which this proposed variance directly affects. We have homes that have been there since 2004. One of the features of our lots was that they backed up to an open field, then owned by a single resident on Joliet Street that had no outbuildings besides a single detached two-car garage near the residence, which has been there for decades. The previous owner decided to subsidize the property prior to moving and sold the southern half to Mr. Thrasher, that built a gorgeous home on the property that fits our neighborhood and no one has ever had any objections to. They are good neighbors and we're happy to have them. Recently, they built a small storage shed / outbuilding to house their yard equipment that all of us had to do, being responsible maintain large half-acre or more lots, so we understand. I was rather shocked to receive a correspondence last week pertaining to Mr. Thrasher requesting an ordinance variance to construct an additional outbuilding, let alone one that is 1,200 square feet. Perhaps he should have taken his needs into account when he built his home and made his garage larger. Another outbuilding will ultimately affect the value and the images of adjacent properties, of which mine is one of. Had this property been one more rural on the edge of the town, it would have not affected anyone. But in the middle of a long-established neighborhood, it does. The picture in our residents' mind is that of a Monopoly game, square putting as many buildings as you can on a space. It is an image that we object to. Put yourselves in our place. Would you want multiple outbuildings backing up to your property? We are encouraging the board to deny the request of Mr. Thrasher and look out for the interests of the longtime residents of the Springs. Thank you, Brett Sidebender. This was dated September 4th, 2024. Are there any more remarks or any more from the public? Please give your name and address.
Erin Vanderheyden, 9837 Three Springs Drive. I just wanted to express that when we purchased our lots, we built 11 years ago.
At that time, the people who own the lots of Joliet Street, they withheld the rear of their properties from Barrick Builders, who built Three Springs subdivision. So when we went to purchase our lot, we asked about the area behind us, and they said that it was not buildable, as someone else referred to earlier, because of the fact that they would not sell their lots or partition them out to Barrick. So that was definitely a selling point for us, but we also very well understand that the view that we enjoy we don't own it. We understand that very well. It was a selling point for us. We know that a building that is established, should we sell in the future, will be taken as is. They're not going to be, we're not going to be selling our home and looking at a construction site. So we understand that as well. I just think it's just disappointment for us who have enjoyed the view for over a decade. But we, again, as my husband stated earlier, we agree with the rights to use our properties that we own, so we are not 100% saying, that we're opposed and that we think it's wrong. At least I'm not. It's just disappointment from our view. We don't think that they're not entitled to the use of their property the way that they see fit. And they do everything beautifully. They do. All of their landscaping and their, everything is beautiful. I know it's going to look nice. We just wish that we could maintain the property and the community that we all purchased into and try to maintain. We don't put up fences. We put in invisible dog fences so that, we can just move around and not obstruct view except for with green, natural borders. So that's all I wanted to express. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public? Going once? Going twice? Public hearing starts. Any comment?
I mean, the way I look at it is, I understand what they're all saying, but you also gotta look at it from his point of view. He has 1.4 acres, and he's not able to utilize that property as everybody else is in town based on percentages. Unfortunately, not everybody in town has 1.4 acres. He does. And I wouldn't like to own 1.4 acres and not be able to do that on my property. Personally.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And in the same token, like I said, he spent the money and did buy a bigger lot. He should be able to utilize that 30% of lot coverage as every other resident in town is able to. It's the way I personally look at it, from my point of view. So I don't have a problem with it, as long as he were to make it match the home, put in a driveway. Aesthetically looks good for everybody else.
Mr. Chair, the standards for a variance from the development standards requires finding by the BZA, and so if a motion is made tonight, I would recommend that it be referenced the findings that the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. Number two, that the use and value of area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. And three, that the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property. So if there's a motion made, you can simply refer to those findings in the motion. And I would further add that it will require a unanimous vote of all three members, whether it's to approve or deny the variance application tonight.
So we can place stipulations on that.
You may impose and stipulate and require any number of any reasonable conditions as has been discussed as part of any approval tonight.
I'm gonna, may I ask Mr. Thrasher about the building itself? And have you talked, I know you have every right to do whatever you want to do with your property, basically based on, considering you're following the rules and regulations of the town and so forth. But talking to them about where would you think it would be located for the best interest of the whole, that building that you're proposing, the garage or?
Well, anywhere in our backyard, somebody can see it.
I understand.
Property owners that spoke, they could see it. I talked to all the neighbors that are adjacent to us, all of them.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, I have, and all of them were okay with it, with the exception of the two couples that are here tonight. And at least they're honest and straightforward and said their piece, which that's their right. All the other neighbors seem okay with it. And I don't know if you guys have seen our house, or if you want to pull up a picture of the front of our house. We plan to make it aesthetically matching our house. You know, we're looking to invest in the property. You know, it's not a barn, it's not a farm, it's none of those things. It's the furthest from it. We want everybody in the neighborhood to have $1 million plus house, so.
Has there been any discussion with you and the neighbors as far as like maybe splitting the lots like, I believe Mrs. Circle recommended or suggested?
Honestly, I have been unable to make them happy.
Okay.
So.
Well, as long as we're able to put the prerequisites on that for.
Well, prerequisites being that it absolutely matches the aesthetics of the existing house.
And he needs to put in a driveway.
And perhaps some bushes to put, so that the general public who sits back there at lot 70 or 71 sees that. But the problem is here that when you put bushes like that and there's a fire, and that fire hydrant is right around 71, 72, that lot 70, it's gonna be pretty hard carrying that line through there.
That's the purpose of the driveway, Joe, so the fire department.
So, yeah, I'm just trying to, looking at all angles for the best interest, that's all. No?
Driveway's
The
not
board-
necessarily mandatory though, is it?
If you make it a reasonable condition of your approval.
Correct.
Yeah. So this is a variance request.
Right. I didn't know if the driveway would detract or like if the neighbors would consider that more taken away from the aesthetic of the property, but.
I don't want to speak for the neighbors, but I know they like that open ground to see
Sure.
across the lots. I'm going to guess they'd rather not see the driveway, but that's
That-
just
I don't
my
know if-
guess, my opinion.
That was the heavy preference of the fire chief if the approval's granted, to ensure that they can.
Do you have the driveway?
To have the driveway to
Okay,
ensure that they
okay.
can get fire engines back there in the event of an emergency.
It's not like the driveway is 6 foot in the air, the driveway is flush with the ground.
Right.
Mr. Chair, I would also, and members, I would also suggest that if that condition will be made as part of any approval, that you try to specifically define what type of a drive. Is it going to be a gravel drive? Is it going to be something
what I was
other than that?
asking.
I mean, that needs to be detailed as best you can in any action taken by the board.
Some residents that are going to ask them what kind of driveway they'd like to see if this is approved.
I believe their HOA requires concrete. Is that true?
They're-
We have our own
Yeah, they're not in
two-lot
Rock Creek
subdivision.
Springs.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
I don't think our developmental standards allow for a gravel
Well,
driveway.
We're caught here in the dilemma, we're trying to follow the BCA rules and at the same time accommodate the general public.
Is there anything in the ordinances that stipulate between asphalt or concrete?
We don't stipulate between asphalt and concrete. We just require it to be asphalt, concrete, or brick. We do not allow gravel.
You currently have a concrete driveway, correct? I think you should match the house.
If you want
To the
to,
front of
we
the
have to
house.
write down the stipulation tonight and get that, if you want to approve it. If you
I mean, what do you
don't,
think, Drago?
Well, I feel like I'm getting a little too far in the weeds with this, but.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there is a driveway where it's a block where it allows soil to come through where grass can grow through it too, but it's still structural. Aesthetically, you barely see it and you can mow right over it, but it's still, I don't know. I thought it was pretty cool, but.
I know what he's talking about. They are very interesting. They're about typically a foot or so thick, and they're made for stormwater, walking paths.
Yeah, they're
They're used,
geocells.
yeah.
There you go.
Solomon work over. I'm sure he's from DVG, he's familiar with it as well. Kind of like the idea of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's my 2 cents. so. But moving this along, I don't know if the residents have any, because at this point, I'm inclined to
A little
approve
bit
it.
closer to the residents.
Yeah,
We have to just figure out what we need to do to put.
but just
move it
being
forward
sympathetic to their thing, if they have a preference, or if Mr. Thrasher wants to address that, or.
Sorry?
If you had any thoughts in terms of, I guess placement is pretty well set. You already said that you tried to do your due diligence in terms of the placement, driveway preference. We do want to see a driveway, so in terms of the material you want to use for that driveway, you have any thoughts on that?
Not initially. It would either have to be blacktop or concrete from my point of view to match the house. But I haven't had either quoted at this point. Preference would be concrete, but I'd like to have the option because blacktop also looks good with our modern looking house.
I think as long as he's following the ordinances,
Yeah.
just specified driveway. In order to get permit for it, he has to follow the rules, so, you know what I mean?
Right.
All right. Well, you want to close public hearing, Joe?
I did post a public.
You did?
Yeah, so I was hoping to you guys.
All right, well, I'm going to make a motion to approve development, no variance at 9934 West 99th Avenue. And with that, approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the community. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. That the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property, and the following conditions I'm going to state will include a driveway, and the accessory building must match the house.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, we're moving right along here. New and old business, amendment to the BCA rules and regulations.
Board members, this is the resolution and the update to the rules and regulations to match the update to the zoning ordinance that the town council passed at their August meeting. It will drop the newspaper publishing from the 2 to the 1, reduce the adjacent property owners from 300 feet to directly adjacent, and requiring that all legal notices be published on the town's website. This will then match exactly what has been passed by ordinance and is now in effect.
It does require action
It's
by the board to approve the updated and amended rules and regulations.
I'll make a motion to approve the updated rules.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay, public comments? Going once? Twice? Public comments closed? Adjourn? Have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Anybody? Nobody wants to?
I don't think you need a.
You don't need a motion, Joe.
No?
You just adjourn